I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 157, coming to you from the offices of Alter Ego Comics, Lima's best comic book store, Lima's only comic book store. And we're here to talk about the great books that came out this week, as well as a top 5 list that at least one of you has requested on numerous occasions. Stay tuned. First up for me, Daredevil number 1.50. Marvel is making up their own system of numbering now. Well, it's not new. There was point now, there was point how now, brown cow, point whatever. But this is 1.50. It's celebrating Daredevil's 50th anniversary, 50 years of Hornhead. And it's really good. The Daredevil series we've raved about before, the current series written by Mark Waid. But really, Daredevil has had so many high points over his 50-year history. Let's just dedicate this episode to 50 years of Daredevil. Special guests include Foggy Nelson, Brian Michael Bendis, and the ghost of Karen Page. Anyway, so they've kind of drawn on numerous things to make this issue great. It's an oversized issue. The main story is by Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez, who are two of the regular collaborators on the Daredevil series, and it takes place in the future. It takes place on Matt Murdock's 50th birthday. And Waid is also the current writer of the series, so he's leaving tidbits and hints and breadcrumbs about what may or may not happen in the Daredevil series now that Daredevil is out in San Francisco. It is San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The story takes place in San Francisco, and if you are a fan of Daredevil, you cannot miss this issue. Really, you can't.
But you can.
No, you shouldn't. You'll be mad at yourself if you do. So we get a future Daredevil story from Waid and Rodriguez. We get a prose Brian Michael Bendis story with illustrations by Alex Maleev, the collaborators on Daredevil in the early 2000s. Yes, it was a 4-year run that started approximately around 2002, 2001, maybe even 2000. Bendis took over after Kevin Smith on Daredevil. And it's just another really solid piece. Bendis, I think, and I meant to put this out on Twitter today, but I think once Bendis became a parent, his writing changed a little bit. And in my opinion, changed for the better as a parent myself. He knows how to get you. Yeah, he does a much better job writing, I think, younger characters than prior to being a parent. And he also writes great parents. So he should write the Brady Bunch movie.
So it's not so much that his writing changed, as that you started to like it because he was writing about things you care about.
I started to like it more. It's things I can relate to. And that's what makes things good. And then there's a third story in here about Matt Murdock's long-lost twin brother, Mike Murdock, which is a throwback to a character that Matt Murdock introduced years and years and years, decades ago, when he was trying to throw people off the scent when they thought that Matt Murdock and Daredevil were the same person. And this is written by Carl Kessel with artwork by Tom Palmer. Good stuff. All in all, this issue is the best bang for your buck this week, in my opinion. And I loved it. Great stuff. And an amazing cover. This is one of those times when I wish I would have purchased some variant covers for myself. In the back of the book, they list all the variants. And I think was it Marcos Martin or was it Paulo Rivera? And it's not here. And I can't find it anymore. Anyway,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they list all the covers, and there were some theme or interlocking variants that just looked amazing. Good stuff.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier to order those if there were actually pictures of them when they were solicited.
Yeah, Marvel, don't ask us to order your variants if you don't have an actual image of the variant that we're ordering.
Next up, well, I guess we'll do a quick addendum to the Daredevil with its ridiculous numbering, the Daredevil 150. We've also got a couple other landmark issues this week from Marvel. We've got all-new X-Men 25 and Deadpool 27, both oversized, both full of Marvel-y goodness, so don't miss those either.
And I think we should take this moment to acknowledge that both of those series have made it into the 20s, and Marvel has not restarted them yet. So it's kind of funny that Marvel is taking the time to announced all-new anniversary issue or oversized special issue, 25 issues.
Woo! My pick of the week is Captain Marvel #2, written by Kelly Sue DeConnick with art by someone Lopez. Aaron Lopez?
David Lopez.
David Lopez. And this picks up for the end. The first issue, we saw kind of everything getting set up. Tony basically convincing Carol to go off into space and be a space Avenger or Spavenger. And this picks up with her in space. She's trying to get this comatose alien person back to their homeland. The person's people were displaced during the Infinity crossover. You don't need to know anything about that, though. All you need to know is Carol's off in space having an adventure, and she's brought her cat with her. If you've seen any promo images for upcoming stuff this summer, you know that Carol will be joining the Guardians of the Galaxy, and we get to see some of that meeting start in this issue. And it was lots of fun. DeConnick's really good at writing Carol as a strong, authoritative character, who also has a sense of whimsy and just is very real and very relatable. And it's great to have a very three-dimensional human character and put them next to a cartoon raccoon. That's what I like. And it was just made me giggle this week.
I don't know, you think we're going to see Carol in Avengers 2? Do you think there's going to be some sort of cameo? Someone
just like Officer Carol Danvers in the background somewhere?
Perhaps, yeah.
Are we sure they have her?
Pretty sure, yeah. I don't think anybody...
I wasn't sure if because of the Rogue connection...
No. That's a question of whether 20th Century Fox has the rights to do anything with Carol Danvers / Ms. Marvel, or whether Marvel still retains the rights. And I would guess that Marvel has the rights. There have been rumblings in the comic book industry that Captain Marvel will be hitting the big screen at some point. So we shall see.
Joss Whedon does love his powerful ladies, so
would be great. Over on the other side of the aisle, DC Comics gives us their first
DC giveth and DC taketh away.
They do. Their first of the 2 weekly series, and I guess there's a third weekly series that will be showing up before the end of the year as well. But the first out of the gate is Batman Eternal #1, weekly series. Apparently running for a year, but there's no guarantee on that. It's definitely coming out every week, but I don't think that DC has said this is going to be 52 issues long. It's going to be at least 8 issues long, because we've seen that many solicited. We've seen actually 12 issues solicited. But this is by the entire Bat creative team working on this, led by President Scott Snyder, with assist by James Tynion IV, Ray Fawkes, John Layman, Tim Seeley, and providing the artwork for the series, Jason Fabok.
For the whole series?
Well, possibly. Oh. I don't know. He's the only artist.
It's just hard to keep a weekly book for an artist.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 writers listed on the cover and 1 artist. So we shall see.
Yeah.
So I think there was some sort of summit held with the Bat writers and the editorial team to put together a rollicking Batman story. And this starts out with a bang. They actually show us something towards the end of this book on the first couple pages, and it is pretty impressive. And then we spend the rest of the time, for the most part, with Commissioner Gordon. And Commish ain't doing so well by the end of this issue. But it was very enjoyable. The Bat books for me have really been hit or miss lately. Unfortunately, I think Scott Snyder's Batman started out very strong and maintained that momentum for quite a while. But I think the 0-year thing may have been a little bit of a mistake, and I think some readers have fled the core Batman title. But you need to come back for Batman Eternal. It's everything so far with 1 issue. That I think Bat fans are looking for. And the really nice thing about it as well, it is a great jumping on point for those of you that have never read a Batman comic book before, or those of you that have been away from Batman comics for a while. Come on back in and then get your weekly dose of Batman moving forward here. So I was very, very pleased with Batman Eternal, and I will continue to read it.
Next up, back on the Marvel side of things, we've got Nightcrawler #1, drawn by Todd Nauk. And
Nanu.
And written by Chris Claremont. Yay! This picks up basically from where we see Nightcrawler back alive and with the X-Men in Amazing X-Men. And the good news is Chris Claremont's writing is good. For reals this time. A lot of times Claremont stuff feels a little dated, feels like he's still writing in the late 1980s. But this was much hipper, much more... I actually didn't realize Chris Claremont was writing it until I went back and looked at the credits, because normally his dialogue sticks out as dated. But it didn't this time. It was smooth, went down easy. We've got Nightcrawler basically recapping his relationships and where he's at, narrating much of the issue in the Danger Room and with Colossus. With Wolverine and Storm and whatnot. And then we've got him palling around with a character from his past named Amanda. I don't want to spoil too much. Also, I don't know anything about the character.
Yes.
She's a magical nexus or something with Man-Thing. And Amanda, why can't I think of her last name? Doesn't matter. But Nightcrawler #1 was lots of fun. If you like teleporting and blue elves, it's the way to go.
Yeah, and our discussion prior to ordering this book was, what do we order? Because it's Chris Claremont writing Nightcrawler. And there's a certain group of people that will be very excited by that, and then there's a certain group of people who will not be interested in that, because Claremont has had a very spotty record writing in the 21st century. But, as Josh said, I was also pleasantly surprised, really enjoyed the book as well, and I think if you're an old-school Nightcrawler fan, or if you're a newer Nightcrawler fan, you'll still enjoy it. The artwork by Todd Nauck is really complimentary to the book. I mean, it's again one of those comics that's an equal part writing and art, and I'm going to rhyme some more. But I just kept kind of looking at the artwork and was very impressed by it. I liked it.
Yeah, it's good.
Also from Marvel, Iron Fist, The Living Weapon, #1. This is a Care Andrews joint. He is doing everything on this book. The writing, the artwork, the lettering, the coloring, the whole 9 yards. And I really enjoyed the first issue. It's kind of... I don't think it's ignoring the stuff that Brubaker and Fraction did with the most recent Iron Fist series, but it's also kind of is. It's trying to be a good entry point for someone who maybe is completely unfamiliar with the character of Iron Fist, especially with the Netflix show coming in 2015. But this is the setup. It shows a very little of Danny Rand's origin, just a snippet of it, and then we jump to the present day. And, he's very much a Tony Stark type character, an Oliver Queen type character, someone who was born into wealth because their parents were wealthy, because their parents were...
That's how you get born into wealth.
Were either doctors or prosperous business people or what have you. And he kind of lives the playboy life, but he's also an adventurer and a righter of wrongs and a seeker of justice. So, I don't know what else to tell you. It's really solid. I think Andrew's artwork is some of the most unique artwork being done right now. And turns out he can write too. And we saw that when he did that Spider-Man book. The Spider-Man one, which was kind of like an homage to Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was him too.
That wasn't a bad book. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. Spider-Man Black?
No,
No,
I don't
Spider-Man...
remember what it was called. It wasn't Requiem.
It might have been Requiem.
I don't know.
No, it was Silver Surfer Requiem by Straczynski. Spider-Man something or other. We'll figure it out. No, what I really liked about this is, like you said, he's classically been an Oliver Queen kind of rich guy, but he's happy-go-lucky and punches things and hangs out with Luke Cage and a tiara. Luke has the tiara, not Danny.
Not anymore. It's in his trophy case.
Right.
Place. He's going to give it to his daughter.
But this definitely swings him more in a Bruce Wayne kind of line. It's much more about vengeance and what drives him. And I really loved the way they do the skyline. They have his father's family building kind of like collapsing in the background, and it's very dark for the modern Marvel skyline. Just really, really cool and moody.
I think that what this is going to be is, as long as Care Andrews has a story to tell for Iron Fist, this book will continue to exist unless it gets canceled due to low sales. But my hunch is once he has told his story, this book will come to an end, and we will get another Iron Fist story a year or two after that. But for those of you that are Iron Fist fans, if you're curious about the character, if you just like Care Andrews, who is an amazing writer and artist, then it's for you.
New this week from Image, we've got Shudder #1, written by Joe Keating, with art by Leila Del Duca. Is that right?
The Duca.
La Duca?
Del Duca.
Del Duca.
Del Duque? What? Sorry.
I just want to make sure I got the writer and artist part. That's right? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the cover.
Okay. Shudder is something. Basically, we pick up the story with this woman, and we see flashbacks both when she's little and as she's probably young adult. Well, adult. She's off on her own. But the world is not quite like ours. In the present of the book, when she's grown up, there's fantastical elements around, almost, aliens and fairies and all sorts of weird stuff. But in the past, it looks very similar to our world. Except her dad is some sort of ambassador or adventurer, like they have a protective... I can't even articulate what I'm saying here.
It's a sci-fi action-adventure story. And her father is very much an Indiana Jones type of character.
I think.
And when she was young, something happens to her father at some point. And she is supposed to inherit that mantle, but she has kind of turned her back on it, and she's a writer of kids' books. Or she's an author very much like J.K. Rowling. She's writing books that kids are crazy about, but she's not following in the family business yet.
In some ways, it reminds me of Unwritten. You get that kind of sense of wonder in the kid's part. You know, like her dad's talking to her and is like, and tomorrow we're going to the moon. Like, that's a thing that you just do with your 8-year-old daughter. You just take her to the moon. You know, this wonderful world of adventure, but then in the adult parts, you see that that's not the way real life works. You know, things get complicated even if you are the chosen scion of a line, and some other possible scions of that line show up to cause trouble for her, and it was just a lot of fun. If you're a fan of stuff like Fables, this is kind of a no-brainer. Very similar blending of myth and science and
Fables, Unwritten, yeah. The things we mentioned. The things Josh mentioned. Superman Wonder Woman continues to be on my list every month, month in, month out, and this is number 7, which is a prelude to Superman Doomed, which is the return of Doomsday, or the first really full-fledged appearance of Doomsday in the New 52 universe. We did see Doomsday in an earlier issue. It may have been issue number 1, actually, of Superman Wonder Woman. But he's been at the bottom of the ocean. And so he is going to come back at some point in the very near future and make Superman's life pretty miserable. But in the meantime, we see what happens after the nuclear fallout of the previous issue, and how both Superman and Wonder Woman recharge their batteries and kind of take it easy. It's kind of one of those quiet moment issues, and Superman actually says to Wonder Woman at one point, "I feel like the world is taking a breath, so we can relax and let's do something together. Let's go someplace. Let's hang out." And Wonder Woman says, "Well, I think it's actually the world holding its breath." Waiting for that next shoe to drop, and we're going to see that happen with Doomsday. Charles Soule continues to write, in my opinion, one of the best DC comics on the market today, and we get artwork, a full issue's worth of artwork by Paulo Segura, who did a backup story with Clark and Cat Grant several issues ago. This guy is amazing. He's kind of a cross between Tony Daniel and Adam Hughes, and I just loved looking at this book. If you're a fan of great comic art, Paulo Segura looks like he's somebody to watch, and I think he really enhanced the story this week.
Next up, from Boombox. We've got a new number 1, Lumberjanes, written by Noelle Stevenson and Grace Ellis, with art by Brooke Allen. This is basically a girls' summer camp where weird stuff goes down. You know, they've got the normal curfew, and they've got the snotty girl that's in charge of their bunk and is going to tell on them, but then they've also they get attacked by foxes with 3 eyes and weird people that turn into bears, and it's very cool, kind of fun, supernatural. Kind
of Buffy the Vampire Slayer at a girls' summer camp Buffy was humorous at many moments, but you know, there's a threat level there too, but it's a lot of humor and a lot of female bonding.
Right. A lot of, yes.
Girl power.
Mark said.
Yeah, sorry.
The Spice Girls are in here.
Ooh. No, they're not.
Not that?
You actually want to pick this book up.
No, it's very cool, whimsical, fun. It doesn't have the feel. There's not a lot of other books that have a feel like this, you know.
Something different, and that's the beauty of where we are in the comic book industry right now, is that we can get books like Shudder and Lumberjanes and other things that maybe would have been passed over in years past and wouldn't get the widespread circulation, but because of the way things are right now, because comic books they're popular to some degree. They're popular, at least in my mind. But the fact that we have publishers that have been around now for 10 years or more, attracting a variety of talent, whether they started as webcomic writers and illustrators or are coming in from another medium, whether it's TV or novels or what have you. There's just a lot of cool stuff going on and lots of opportunities to check out a variety of different types of comics. So while Lumberjanes may not be for everyone, it's definitely got appeal, and hopefully those that are interested in it will find it.
Those of you who like young girls.
We have some. Well, Josh and his young girls.
Actually, Miss Marvel. If you enjoy Miss Marvel, it's very similar in both an age and tone. Kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so our top 5 list this week is, I should have written this down, but there's, you know who you are, one guy or gal who's been repeatedly asking for the top 5 Jim Lee list. We're going to do it this week. And here's why we're doing it, because we didn't have to think too much about it. Because we've done some research, and we've discovered that Jim Lee has only worked on 18 different titles since when?
Ever.
Ever.
This is based on his Wikipedia document, and this is accepting one-offs and one-page things.
He's
as far as more than one issue of a book.
More than one issue of a series. More than one concurrent. Is that right? Concurrent?
No, because they're not all continuous. You don't mean concurrent. Concurrent means two at the same time.
Yes.
Consecutive, maybe, is the word you want. There's lots of con words in here.
Con! All right, so we have 18 to choose from, and they will jump out at us. I'll take the lead here and just go with Hush, with Batman Hush, which originally ran in Batman 608 to 619, written by Jeff Loeb. One of the perennial bestsellers here and probably across the country. It's an easy sell to Batman fans, to someone who wants to get into Batman comics, because you have all of the major villains are there, Superman is there, and you've got a kind of a mystery that is solved by the end of the story. So it's a self-contained read. And Lee's artwork is amazing. He gets a chance to draw everybody in Batman's universe, from Commissioner Gordon to, the Joker, Harley Quinn, as I mentioned, Superman, Poison Ivy, Alfred, they're all there. Flashbacks to Jason Todd Robin, all kinds of stuff. It's just, it's a wonder to behold.
Everything you want in a Batman book.
Yes, I think I have the Absolute Edition. I do. It's up on my shelf right there. Yep. And seeing that artwork in the oversized format,
very cool.
A thing of beauty. All right, what's your pick?
I don't know about pick.
Well, you go next.
Again, well, we're talking about a top 5. I don't know if it's about quality.
Yeah, when you're talking about artists, the artist has some influence on the story, but the writer is really the one driving the car there. And so I think we're judging it just on appearance.
Right.
So
then just on appearance, I've got to go with Justice League.
The current Justice League?
The new 52 Justice League. Well, not current, because he's not on it anymore.
When it relaunched.
The first arcs that he did, the relaunch with Jeff Johns. The way, especially the one that always calls back to my mind visually, is the Green Lantern and Batman meeting in Gotham City. It's night. There's not a lot of detail, but there's just enough shadow and the green light. And the dialogue there is especially whimsical, and Lee does a great job of playing that on their faces, which is impressive. When with Batman, you really only have this much to work with. He does a great job of getting character across in very little actual expression or very little line work. So, yeah, very pretty. The modern version of all the costumes, I mean, that's the current... He basically designed the core Justice League for the modern interpretation, whether you like your underpants on the inside or the outside. But
sometimes Josh wears them both ways.
Sometimes Superman does, yes. Yeah. 2 layers. I put them on the inside and the outside.
For your protection. Yeah. Okay, so next up. There's so many choices here, and I'm partial to the stuff that I grew up reading. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with... Here, there's a tie here. Okay. I don't know if this is allowed or not, judges. You will? Okay, it is allowed.
The Scandinavian judge is shaking his head.
Yes, we don't care about him. They're part of Russia now. Oh no, Okay, that's not how that works. I'm gonna go with Punisher War Journal and Uncanny X-Men, and he went from Jim Lee's first major work at Marvel was Uncanny X-Men. He actually did some issues of Alpha Flight. Some covers, some other stuff, before he got the job penciling the interiors of Uncanny X-Men. Also,
Avengers Solo Mockingbird, 1987. Jim.
So Uncanny X-Men, his run started with 248, and then he didn't do another issue until 256, and did a couple issues there. But just to see him draw the X-Men, to me, Jim Lee was the X-Men artist. And this was, late 1980s. And then, so this is a combo. There are 3 titles that will be
good lord, this is just the last 3 titles.
So Uncanny X-Men, no it isn't. Uncanny X-Men, which led to X-Men Volume 2, Adjectiveless X-Men. Right. The first few issues written by Claremont with artwork by Jim Lee, and it's awesome. The reason I brought up the first run of Uncanny X-Men is Uncanny X-Men 248. The first time we see Wolverine in that issue is the tattoo that I have. So... That's for those of you that want to know. I have one tattoo. It is Jim Lee's Wolverine from Uncanny X-Men number 248. And so I'm obviously sentimental about that. But I got to throw in Punisher War Journal as well because he drew a great Frank Castle Punisher, but there was a 2-issue Punisher Wolverine dealio, like number 5 and number 6, or number 6 or number 7. I don't remember which 2 it was, but Wolverine was in the jungle going after Punisher. They were both tracking the same person, and they met as enemies, or they met as unknowns, as Marvel characters often did in the 80s and 90s, and had a knockdown, drag-out fight before they realized they were kind of on the same side. And Wolverine and the Punisher have kind of had this mutual admiration, mutual respect, I think, although Wolverine has been walking closer to the side of the Angels than Frank Castle has of late.
Frank Castle's on the side of the Angels. He's just not using the methods of the
Frank
Angels.
Castle was an Angel at one point, if I remember correctly. Crazy. So I just summed up Jim Lee's early career at Marvel Comics is my pick. Is pick number 3.
Okay.
You're up.
I guess I will go with Superman Unchained.
Is that a question or a statement?
Yeah. I've read about... Well, you've already picked half the things I've read on this list, so... I mean...
All-Star Batman and Robin?
Yeah, I didn't care for it.
Okay.
But you can pick
But you
it.
didn't care for the writing or didn't care for the art?
Oh, it was pretty, I guess. I don't know.
We're judging strictly on art content.
Okay, are we judging on how often the book came out? Because that's how I judge an artist, and by that meter, by that metric...
That is up to you.
I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Superman Unchained.
Okay.
Which is also not exactly on time, but is a lot closer. Very cool page layouts. I like the visual design on the other new alien Kryptonian person whose name eludes me at the moment. Not actually Kryptonian, I guess. He's an alien. I like the way when we see the flashback stuff and the periods, it's not like in my head when something happens in the 50s, it looks like Darwin Cook. And Lee maintained his style in that.
Actually, Darwin Cook?
Yes, Darwin Cook is in the 50s.
Darwin Cook's art. Okay.
Yes, it looks like Darwin Cook's art. And the Lee flashback stuff obviously was still in his own style and wasn't a huge stylistic change, but like the way he captured it in small accoutrement lets you know that you were dealing with, the 40s, the 50s, and it was just good. I felt it had a great atmosphere to it.
You did see that the 2 issues that have already been solicited have been canceled and will be resolicited another time. And Jim, I gotta wonder about Jim Lee these days because he's co-publisher at DC Comics. Mm-hmm. He's heavily involved with the DC digital side, media side, so video games and other stuff. How does the guy even have time to draw? He's got a family, he's got kids. I would not blame him if he just quit drawing. But he still keeps signing up because, well, you know what? You know why he does it? Because his books will sell.
Right.
And as co-publisher, it's like, all right, we need a sales spike. I guess I better draw something. Anyway, he's a really nice guy, though.
I will do 1 page in Harley Quinn's era.
All right, last up for me is kind of out of left field, but not really when you think about where I'm coming from. But Fantastic Four Volume 2. So this was Heroes Reborn.
Heroes Reborn.
Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, and that may have been it. Marvel was trying to play nice with the Image guys after they had left Marvel and formed Image and were hugely popular and successful. And they got them to come back and draw these, essentially a mini-series that took place after the Onslaught. Was it Onslaught?
It was Onslaught.
Yeah, it was Onslaught. So there was the Heroes Reborn universe, and we had Avengers, Captain America, Fantastic Four, and Iron Man. Well, Wes Portacio was the other Image guy that came back, the guy who did Wetworks. But Jim Lee's Fantastic Four just blew my mind. I had never seen the Fantastic Four look that way before, and I will continue to rhyme. And if you have never seen this, because it's not necessarily a great story, I think it actually was written by Jeff Loeb, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a great story, but Jim Lee gets to draw everybody in the Fantastic Four catalog. So we got Namor, and we got Mole Man, and we got a bunch of other people, and his take on those characters is just incredible.
That's fair.
So that's 5, right?
That's 5.
All right.
That's 5, unless we count the 3 that were
5,
wrong.
but so it's actually 8, or is it 7? It's 7 out of the 18 books that Jim Lee has ever worked on. Made it into our top 5 Jim Lee comics of all time. So yeah, that's it for this week. We thought we might talk about Captain America, but there really is no reason to because everyone loves it.
Right.
Us included. So hopefully you've seen Captain America, the Winter Soldier, which is great movie. And we're out of time. So keep your suggestions coming for top 5 lists. Let us know if we left out something on the Jim Lee list. That I know we left out Wildcats, and someone's going to scream Wildcats or Deathblow or whatever, but to each their own, I suppose. That's it for this week. Go head out to your local comic book shop or come see us here at Alter Ego Comics. We want you to get good comics. We want you to love comics. We're here to help you. See you next week.